Ladies and gentlemen, from the National Rifle Association, please welcome Wayne LaPierre.
Thank you very much. Hello, CPAC. I'll tell you, it's great to be back here surrounded by patriots like all of you who do the hard work every day for freedom. Thank you very much for doing that. You know, we Americans, we breathe freer air. We live freer lives. We have more opportunity from the day we're born than anyone else on the planet. And it's because of those freedoms that are enshrined in our Bill of Rights and our Constitution. And I'm proud to lead an organization of 5 million patriotic members who, 5 million, who have done more to defend and advance freedom than any organization in modern history. In fact, over the past 30 years, together, we've achieved a historic restoration of our right to keep and bear arms. We rewrote the entire 1968 Gun Control Act so that law-abiding Americans would not be subjected to government harassment simply for exercising their constitutional rights. Decades ago, and I know this sounds hard to believe, only 3 states had reasonable laws on the books that allowed their citizens to carry firearms. Today, as we are here right now, more than 40 states have right to carry laws on the books. Making it possible for almost every law-abiding American to protect themselves and protect their families. Decades ago, I know, and each one of these was a battle, believe me. But we did it together. Decades ago, federal and state governments actually had the power to go into people's homes and confiscate their firearms in times of emergency. We saw it after Katrina. You may remember that, when the citizens of New Orleans had their guns taken away from them right when they needed them most. I'll tell you what NRA did. After that, NRA went out and passed both federal and state legislation ensuring that would never happen again. Decades ago, and I know you'll remember it, a lot of you, there was a debate raging in this country about whether the plain language in the Second Amendment means what it says, that law-abiding Americans have an individual and unalienable right to own and use firearms. Today, thanks to the Heller and McDonald Supreme Court decisions, that debate is over. The court has made it clear that our Second Amendment rights are for individual citizens, not the government. And thanks to the hard work and sacrifice and leadership of millions of NRA members and supporters and patriots like you all across this country, Hillary Clinton's political career is over. And President Donald Trump sits in the Oval Office today, standing guard over the same freedoms you and I cherish. But let me tell you, the threat that is staring us in the face right now with this election is greater than any threat we've faced in our lives. This election won't just decide whether our children and our grandchildren get to enjoy the same freedoms that you and I hold dear. It will decide whether you and I and everyone else in this country will continue to breathe the same air and live the same free lives that we do today. This election is a referendum on our Constitution, on our liberty, on our values, on our heritage, and on our way of life. Because it is, and I know you know this, because what we're seeing right now isn't just politics as usual. It's about fundamentally tearing down your freedoms and dictating every aspect of your life. Our opponents, they're not interested in debating the issues. They're not interested in winning hearts and minds to support their ideas. No, they're committed to doing anything and using any means necessary to get freedom-loving Americans out of their way so they could impose their values and their will on you and your family forever. That's what it's about. And the National Rifle Association is their first and foremost target. Let me explain that. Right now, we are fighting back every day against a highly coordinated, scorched earth assault to destroy the NRA. In San Francisco, anti-gun politicians passed a resolution that branded the NRA as a terrorist organization. Yeah, I know. That wasn't just name-calling what they did. It was a purposeful event and effort to force businesses to cut ties with the NRA with the aim of damaging us financially. We confronted that same rogue behavior in Los Angeles. The city passed an ordinance that sought to punish any lawful business that had any connections to our organization or supported the Second Amendment. Both of these attacks were brazen, unlawful attempts to destroy the First Amendment rights of NRA members. Our rights to assemble as a group, USA. Yep. I'm going to say that in just a minute because that's what I'm talking about. This is about whether we are and are going to stay the USA. That's what this is about. It's about whether we will continue to have those USA freedoms, like our right to assemble, our right to speak freely, and ultimately our right to exist. In the face of these attacks, the NRA, I'll tell you, the NRA did exactly what you expect. We fought back. We took them to court, and we won. But what we've seen in San Francisco and Los Angeles is nothing compared to the attacks we're facing right now from the state of New York. These attacks are unprecedented, not just in the history of the NRA, but in the entire history of our country. Governor Andrew Cuomo and his Democratic... Yeah, listen to this, just listen to this. Governor Andrew Cuomo and his Democratic cohorts unveiled a nuclear option to, in Cuomo's own words, put the NRA out of business. In 2018, Cuomo sent a clear and a chilling message to every major financial institution and insurance company in America that those who refuse to cut ties with the NRA will find themselves right in the crosshairs of New York government agents to be harassed, hassled, and persecuted into submission. Cuomo knows that his army of regulators can force virtually any financial institution in this country to bow in the face of such tactics. In fact, his actions have forced many former business partners to abandon us in what is being described as the most outrageous abuse of power to which they have ever been subjected. Cuomo knows that without a bank account, without insurance, the NRA can't continue to operate. We can't write checks. We can't accept membership dues or contributions. In other words, we can't be your voice, and we can't fight the fight. And that's not all. Listen to this. In her 2018, in her campaign for New York State Attorney General, I'm talking about in her campaign for New York State Attorney General, Letitia James referred to the NRA as a terrorist organization. Yeah, and you talk about what can happen in America? She repeatedly promised to launch a so-called investigation of the NRA to determine whether she could revoke our New York corporate charter that's been in effect since 1871, dissolve our association, and dispose of our assets as she sees fit. And so, it's no surprise that when she took office, she did exactly what she promised on the campaign trail. Letitia James has openly and outrageously begun using the full power of her office to shut down the NRA and silence our voice. This is a horrific abuse of government power, and we must all, as Americans, join together to stop it. It's a fight. It truly is a fight over whether the USA will stay the USA or whether we'll turn into one of those countries where we shake our head and we look down and we say, thank God I don't live there. Cuomo and James are inspired by pure political vendetta, motivated by an unbridled and burning hatred of the NRA, our members, and everything that we stand for. And they're willing to use and abuse the full power of government in an attempt to crush us, like something that you would see in communist China. They know that the minute the NRA closes its doors, our nation's first and most important line of defense for the Second Amendment and our freedoms will be gone forever. But I'll tell you this, I'm here to tell you that it will not happen on my watch, I promise you. And it's not me, it's all of us together as Americans that are not going to let it happen. Together, NRA members and Americans all across this country, we're going to fight back with everything we've got. We have filed a lawsuit against Governor Cuomo and his regulators in United States federal court. And we're fighting back against Letitia James. And because we are fighting to protect not just our constitutional freedoms, but those enjoyed by all Americans all over this country. Others have joined us. Legal experts, constitutional scholars, and I am proud to stand here and say today, the American Civil Liberties Union, that's right, the ACLU has joined our cause. And I'll tell you why they've done it. Because they know that if the government can weaponize its power to shut down the NRA, the government can weaponize its power to shut down any other organization in America. This has become the most important First Amendment fight in our nation's history. It really has. Because if Andrew Cuomo and Letitia James can silence the NRA, they can silence anyone. If they can take down the NRA, they can take your guns, your Second Amendment freedom, and every other constitutional freedom that you have. That's what this fight is about. That's what NRA's fight is about. And ultimately, that's what this election is about. Because the elitists and the extremists who want to take control of Washington this November are cut exactly from that same cloth. And mark my words, if they win, they will use the awesome power of government to annihilate your freedom, impose their values and their will on you, your family, and on America forever. So tell me, is that the America you want? No. Will you fight with everything you got? Yes. Then join us and stand and fight with the NRA. And we need Americans standing just like that with us all over the country. Let's not let Michael Bloomberg dictate from the White House what freedoms we're allowed to have, what organizations are allowed to exist, and whether or not law-abiding Americans can own firearms. And let's not allow Bernie Sanders to transform the United States of America from a free republic to a socialist nightmare like Cuba or Venezuela. Let's not let them take our guns, our freedom, and this country that we all love so dearly. And as my good friend Charlton Heston told you right here at CPAC, I want you to stand up. I want you to fight back. I want you to raise hell and shout to the rafters. I want the thousands of you here today to go reach hundreds of thousands of Americans. And those hundreds of thousands of Americans reach tens of millions of Americans and stand by our side and fight all the way through Election Day. If we all pull together, you, me, and every patriotic American who shares our values and believes in the greatness of our Constitution, we will prevail, we will win, and together, each and every one of us will save America. God bless you all, and thank you very much, and let's fight this all the way through November. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Defend the Second Amendment. Join the NRA. Text STAND and FIGHT to 60937. Text Stand and Fight to 60937.